So here we go. This is a fun one, right?
No.
This is one of my favorite YouTube channels because they're always uploading something wacky and wild that you can't believe. But a bunch of lunatics are uploading this stuff. But I read a kind of what would you call surprising fact the other day that over half, something like 60% of PragerU's audience is under 35. Uh-oh.
So let me explain something to you. No.
Most known, one of their claims to fame, one of this channel's claims to fame is they uploaded a pro-slavery video.
Here are some facts about Lee that remind us why his statue should remain. Lee deemed slavery a moral and political evil in any country, but considered it a greater evil to the white man than to the black race, since blacks are immeasurably better off here than in Africa.
Which, you know, we've all done that on our YouTube channel on accident, right?
Hey.
All the great YouTubers have done it. Mr. Beast, FaZe Rug, H3, James Charles has probably done it. Logan Paul definitely done it. Jake Paul definitely done it. We've all done it. It's part of being a YouTuber, okay? Okay? So it's a little troubling, but definitely not surprising when let's just call him a world leader, the Prime Minister of Israel, I call him Benji, retweets a PragerU video. If you had any sort of uncertainty about the Israeli government at this point, I think that should go bye-bye, right? That's them right now. That's a recording of the Israeli government. So usually this is just a dumb, easy source of content that I'm really glad exists, PragerU, because it creates, I can like goof on it and then get views and all this stuff. But I'm going to take it a little bit more seriously this time because it's being tweeted by, this guy. So here we go. Here's the video that Benji Netanyahu retweeted. Here we go.
There are two views of the Israeli military. What you hear in most of the media and the truth. The Israel Defense Force, the IDF, does more to safeguard the rights of civilians in a combat zone than any other army in the history of warfare. Why is this so? Firstly, Israel is a decent country with Western values run on democratic principles.
So let me read this again. Israel is a decent country with Western values run on democratic principles. So there's a couple problemos with this right off the bat.
No.
So I assume one of the things he's talking about here is freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And this from the AP. Shocking and horrifying. This is just 2 days ago. Israel destroys AP office in Gaza. An Israeli airstrike on Saturday destroyed a high-rise building that housed the Associated Press office in the Gaza Strip. The world will know less about what is happening in Gaza because of what happened today, AP President CEO Gary Pruitt said. And that's a sort of the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more you could read about: unfair trials, torture and other ill treatment, arbitrary detention, lack of freedom of movement, unlawful killings, excessive use of force, discrimination, forcible transfers, forced evictions, demolitions. There's a lot of reporting on this online on YouTube. You could see demolition of important buildings where people live, where people work, so on, etc. I mean, the main point here, and what's funny, is that to retweet a PragerU video is basically like, reality's not working out for me. The reality of the situation is not working out for me. I need someone I need some outlet or some content that's just blatantly saying lies and stupid propaganda so that I can tweet something. You know what I mean?
Hey.
But this next part is probably the funniest / most disturbing part of this video. Here we go.
Secondly, Judaism, with its unsurpassed moral standards, remains a major influence.
All right, so not just a religious symbol, but really any symbol. If you put any symbol with lights, a big sort of backlit, shining starburst light behind it, and then sort of like reflections going at ding, 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 and little starbursts coming off it. If I did that for like the logo on my channel, you would be like, oh, this guy's losing it. This guy's losing his mind a little bit. But in this context, doing this is the most like bizarre Starship Troopers thing I think I've seen in a while. So, but that's, that's what PragerU is. If you're just the average under 35-year-old YouTube viewer, you're playing Among Us, and then YouTube is just blaring in the background, and you get one of these PragerU ads, which they spend millions of dollars, pushing all over YouTube, and you just like hear this, you catch this part with the shining symbol in this shining religious symbol like this in this context, and what he's saying. Probably your alarm bells are gonna go. Something's off here. Something's off about this video. Something ain't right here, how they're using this.
Secondly, Judaism, with its unsurpassed moral standards, remains a...
Where did they get that sound effect? This is why they care about this. That there's like a group of people who are better than another group of people. They're a group of people who are superior to another group of people. That's what they like about this. These absolute goose-stepping lunatics. So, whoops, kind of tipped your hand there. Sort of like, it's very easy to make these mistakes. Sort of like accidentally, whoops, made a slavery video. Whoops, made a slavery video. Whoops, made a pro-slavery video again. Whoops, made a video that one type of person is better, morally superior than another type of person. Oh no, they're not just people trying to live their lives and take care of their kids and like have electricity. No. They're morally inferior people. So all is fine then, right?
No.
Thirdly, the army is composed overwhelmingly of citizen soldiers. Israel's a small country with a small professional army. To fight a war, it depends on its conscripts and its reservists. These are ordinary citizens, from professors to plumbers, called upon to defend their homes.
This is really interesting, and we got to give it up for a great journalist, somebody who's like the real deal journalist, Abby, what's her name? Abby Martin, who's been doing a lot of, she actually uploaded a documentary that she produced and they did everything for, called Gaza Fights for Freedom, I think it's called. And she actually interviewed a Israeli army veteran who has been kind of interviewing a bunch of other Israeli army people and military people, who's really giving a lot of insight into what's going on here. On this point from the PragerU video of this is a very simplistic, this is a very simple thing. These people are just people who are trying to defend their homes. This is an army of citizens. Very simplified view of things. Let's get a more nuanced view from somebody who was actually part of the Israeli military.
Are right. Whatever we're doing is the correct thing.
I wanted you to talk specifically about the culture within the Israeli military that fosters anti-Arab sentiment and racism, essentially.
Yes, I think the system, is not only inside the military. It's like I said before, that's actually what being an Israeli means. Being an Israeli, growing up in the Israeli educational departments, you understand that all the Arabs hates you, that they're actually, in a way, the continuation of the biblical Amalek or Hitler, or, that everybody there want to throw you into the sea. This is what you're growing up with, and you really believe in that. I mean, going into the military, you're already going so full of hate and fear at the same time that you don't need much to be very aggressive, violent, and racist toward Palestinians. They see the Palestinian women and the Palestinian men as subhuman. The occupied territories are like an ex-territory when those human beings are not considered.
I would really suggest watching this interview, this Abby Martin interview with this guy, because it really puts you there, it really puts you in this situation. You get a deeper understanding of what's going on here. And he goes on here. I just want to play a little bit more of this.
Jewish settlers could come into Hebron and celebrate. So there's thousands and thousands of Israelis and Jewish settlers from across the West Bank coming to celebrate. And the only way to keep them protected is to make sure that no Palestinian is leaving his home. So literally one of my first tasks was to roam the streets and make sure Palestinians understand they're going into their home and they cannot leave until a second notice, until the next time we're coming in. And the first time was like a movie. You know, we birthed into the city with our guns in our hands and our uniform and vest with grenades and 6 packs of ammunition. And we're just screaming curfew. And you see the chaos. You see the people just running from place to place, closing down their shops, running home, because wherever you are when the curfew starts, this is where you're stuck. And you cannot go anywhere else. So you better be at home when we're starting to count the curfew. Now, the official orders to anyone who breaks curfew is shoot to kill. I never did that. I never met anyone who shoot to kill in this process of a curfew. But that was the orders, and they knew it pretty well.
So these kooks, these chowderheads, these right-wing kooks, the type that we often look at and goof on this channel, they're hijacking a religion, and they're using kind of a goofy language like Western values. If you hear somebody say Western values, you know you're in a situation, right? Western values and democratic principles, they're hijacking a religion and using these wacky, goofy terms to basically defend this kind of authoritarian crap that the guy who was actually in the Israeli military just described. So there you go. Not surprising for goofballs and chowderhead lunatics funded by oil billionaires like Dennis Prager and PragerU. Dennis Prager, by the way, has been doing this for like decades. He's was like a radio guy. Could you imagine listening to him? He's always half falling asleep, Dennis Prager. Maybe he needs some Blue Chew. He always sounds like he's nodding off. He's like that kind of old guy.
So you've been frightened. You'll die of COVID. You'll die of global warming, or you'll drown. Well, drowning is dying. You will die of that. That's so you have been frightened.
Where he's just like kind of drifting. His batteries are dying all the time. But people listen to it on the radio because they, want to goose step around. This is pretty crazy, and I've been seeing a lot of this in kind of like mainstream news type stuff, and this is a crazy one. So brace yourself for this one, okay?
No.
Here we go.
The IDF took extraordinary measures to give Gaza civilians notice of targeted areas, dropping millions of leaflets, broadcasting radio messages, sending texts, and making tens of thousands of phone calls. Let me repeat that. The Israelis called Gazans on their cell phones and told them to leave their residences and move to safety. Never in the history of warfare has an army phoned its enemy and told them where they're going to drop their bombs.
So this is a report from Amnesty International. I'll read you this so you get a little context for what's really going on here. Unlike in many other cases, the Israeli army took measures to ensure that residents left the targeted buildings before their destruction, as mentioned in that video clip from the prestigious university, PragerU. It's very difficult to get into that college. They get exams. You have to get really good exam scores, I guess. However, 2 of the attacks resulted in injuries to scores of civilians in surrounding buildings. So they're like, look how nicely they destroyed all these people's homes in the office buildings. They did it in a nice way. Give me a break. Okay?
Hey.
But this is not the case. 2 of the attacks resulted in injuries to scores of civilians in surrounding buildings. Other than vague suggestions that there was a Hamas command center within one of the 2 tower blocks, and that another housed facilities linked to Palestinian militants. So it's a little bit like, they're like, well, I don't know, we heard something. The Israeli authorities have provided no information on why they reduced the buildings to rubble, and if there were valid military reasons for doing so. Why less destructive means were not selected. So this is the real thing. This is what's a little off about this is, first of all, this did hurt a lot of people. There were lots of injuries from this. But just because you called someone and let them know you're going to destroy their homes and their buildings doesn't kind of make that okay. Now these people have problems related to those buildings being destroyed, like not being able to work, not being able to live somewhere, not having, and of course, all the other problems that have been written about extensively, that in Gaza, they only have electricity for a couple hours a day, things like this. So what this really looks like to me is sort of PR, the whole like calling in things like, look, we're not just killing civilians, even though they do kill civilians. We're not just killing civilians. We call and warn them. We are destroying all the things that would allow them to live, but we did not kill them. It's strikes me as PR. There's a little PR thing that's going on that, for example, what they could do is put this in a PragerU video. A British colonel, is he a colonel, that guy? A British colonel, who's, of course, a right-wing kook, because that's the only person who's going to appear on PragerU, so that we could have him say this in our videos and maybe get a little PR, and then, oops, the prime minister of the country doing it tweets it out. Interesting.
Make pee-pee.
So, a lot of dishonesty going on in this situation right off the bat here. This is pretty great. This is good advice. Like, Dennis, the thing about Dennis Prager, he looks like a cartoon of a kindly old man. But I found this while I was, doing my research, as I call it, on this. And I laughed out loud at this. I love this. This is kindly old man Dennis Prager's advice on studies, like research. Like, this is what he thinks about research. And this is good advice, actually. He does these things called fireside chats. And this is his great advice on doing research. Here we go.
A lot may not be. So I have a rule which has stood me perfectly in my life. Whenever I see the word study, I assume it either comports with common sense or it's wrong. This comports with common sense. I think.
So if you read a study and the outcome, the conclusion of the study or what the research finds goes against what you like or believe, it's wrong. You gotta love him though, just his vibe and the way he talks. It's like, if you just like met him, you saw him at a Barnes and Nobles or something, you'd be like, look at that adorable old man. The doctor came to, this disgusting doctor I went to the other day. He said, hey, look, your blood pressure and all this crap, your cholesterol is out of control. It's through the roof. We did a study on your body. And the conclusion was you need to stop eating loaded baked potatoes and Tino pizza rolls all day for every meal, including breakfast, with a side of, Slurpee every morning. You got to stop doing this because this is what the study found. I'm like, nope, I disagree with that because it's against what gives me joy, what brings me joy. By the way, I did just describe my real diet. I wake up every morning, I'm like, where's that leftover loaded baked potato? Where's my leftover Sonic from yesterday that's all cold and congealed now? I'll just eat that for breakfast without even warming it. But everything about this video, which has 328,000 views in just a couple days, it's beautiful because what this thing is about, what this video is about is young Americans. He's reading some study, which of course you can't believe because it's not nice. It's not what we like to hear, is that 51% of young Americans are depressed. And so instead of looking at things like economics, the things that a sane person would look at, he blames it all on things that directly serve him. Like he's paid by oil industry people. It's fearing climate change is one of the problems. It's fearing climate change, not being religious was another one, and then people being mean about America, about America's past. It's like, why do we have to think about slavery and all that stuff? That makes people feel bad, and that's why Americans are depressed. I mean, he's got all the answers. This is a kindly old man with all the answers.
Hey.
So there we go. There we go, everybody.
There we go.
Great, right?
No.
A very serious, horrible thing going on right now when the leader of a country is tweeting out the ramblings of demented YouTubers. Great. Uh-oh. So, guys, not exactly the funnest. Usually I'm goofing around, having just a complete goof. But in this case, a little bit more serious one. But hey, gotta look at it. Yeah, and there you go. I will see you later, and bye-bye. Hey everybody, and thanks so much for watching this video. Like all the other YouTube and podcast perverts, I now have a Patreon. Every week on this Patreon, I'm uploading 2
Exclusive.
Patreon exclusive shows. They're like real shows, more produced, more edited.
A behind-the-scenes show where I reveal all my secrets, and a show where we go deep on an important topic that you will want to know about. Also, you get the daily and complete live show audio-only feeds. And at the top level, for only 25 bones, you can become a producer. These people that you're seeing right here make this program possible. Without them, nothing. It goes right in the toilet, right in the trash, and we set it on fire. It's these people who make it work. So please, for Christ's sake, become a patron. Bye-bye, love you.